If you do not have a customer acquisition strategy, your business will fail. The reality is, if you don't know how to go out and get and convert customers, your business is just an idea. And in today's video, we want to show you the exact 5-step process after working with thousands of businesses to build this out on how to create your customer acquisition strategy today.
So what is a customer acquisition strategy? It's really just two things. It's very simple. Leads, how do I get people interested, raising their hand saying, hey, I'm interested in your product? And number two, conversion systems. How do I convert these interested leads into actual customers? It's really that simple. Leads and sales.
A simple example is Apple. Think about when they launch a new product. They promote through advertising, social media, they spread the word to get people attracted and interested in that new product. They then have a way for you to give them money so that you can purchase that product. And that has to do with conversion.
The number one reason why businesses fail is they don't have the right lead and conversion strategy. The client acquisition system is missing, because even if you have some referrals coming in and friends in your network sending you people, the moment something shifts in the economy or the moment that somebody decides to stop sending you business, you are at the mercy of things outside of your control. When you have a client acquisition system, you know where to get the leads, you know how to scale up the leads, you know how to convert those leads into customers. You are now in full control of the business, and you can set a goal. Hey, in 6 months, we want to be at this revenue. You know exactly what activities it takes to get there. Whereas if you are relying on referrals or word of mouth or hoping that if I build it, they'll come, you are literally at the mercy of everything else in the world and have zero control over where your business actually goes.
The most important part of your business is sales. It is customer acquisition. And so we want to walk you through the 5-step process to dial in customer acquisition for your business so you know exactly how to build sales, how to get more revenue, and how to go to the next level.
Step number one in building your client acquisition strategy is identifying your target audience. But there's a lot of mistakes people make around this. Everybody has the 101 of marketing. Find your ideal audience, find like how old are they? What frustrations do they deal with? Where do they drink coffee? All this stuff is actually the wrong place to start. Number one is figure out generally who you want your client to be. Step number two in that is, where do they hang out? Are they on Facebook? Are they on LinkedIn? Are they where are they? What platforms are they on? What areas are they in? And from there, you're going to look at the platform's targeting options, targeting features. And once you understand, if you're on LinkedIn, it could be their company size, their title, the industry. Once I understand the targeting parameters that I have to work with on the platforms, now I'm going to build my target audience, my avatar, based off of who I want as a customer, retrofitted into these platforms, because the platforms are going to be the gatekeepers between me and my client. So if I build my target audience based off of the platform's targeting features, I am going to have such a competitive advantage against the majority of people that are going out there and they're over detailing their target audience before they even get to the platform.
When you are going to map out your specific target audience, as you are testing your different marketing channels, which we're going to get into in a second, be okay with your assumptions being wrong. This is part of building a successful customer acquisition strategy, is to test every assumption. And the second part to that is make sure that when you're creating your target audience, that you segment it based on something specific. For example, at Pima, we can service anywhere from an earlier stage company to a larger corporation. And the way that I market and sell to an early stage or smaller business that's under $1 million in revenue is very different to how I'm going to market and sell to a business that's doing 20 or 50 million in revenue. So keep in mind that you are going to have to segment your target audience so that you can better attract and convert them.
And I think another really good example on this is if I'm targeting, say, the CEO of a business, their motivations are going to be much different than if I'm targeting the CMO or the CFO. If I'm targeting the owner, the growth and the vision and the mission of the business is going to be very inspiring. If I am targeting the CMO of a company, I'm trying to get in with the CMO of a company, their whole motivation is going to be different. It's going to be more about, hey, making sure if I bring you in, you're not going to make me look bad, or if I bring you in, are you going to make my job easier or harder? So be very specific also about whoever you're targeting. What is their motivation? Especially if you're doing B2B, we do a lot of B2B. You got to really understand the motivations behind the different roles, but this works in every segment, B2C, anything that you're selling. You got to understand that person's motivation behind why they're going to say yes and turn to a lead, and ultimately why they're going to say yes and become a paying client.
The second step to creating a successful customer acquisition strategy is to attract new leads. Here, depending on your product or service, you want to use different marketing channels to attract new interested leads, which are people that are interested in your product or service, so that you can take them into the next step. It's important here that you keep in mind who your ideal target was, like we mentioned in step 1. Depending on who you are going after, the platform or the marketing channel that you utilize to target them is going to vary. Maybe you want to run ads to your Shopify store. You might use Facebook or Google. Or maybe you want to reach out to decision makers in a B2B scenario, in which case we'd utilize LinkedIn or cold email. Just keep in mind to go where your ideal client lives when determining which marketing avenue to use to attract new leads.
For instance, if you're in a service space where you serve other customers, you're not selling a product, one of the best ways to start is through cold email. It is through cold outreach, because you can go connect directly with your client. And guess what? Especially if you're a newer business, or if you're not already tapping into what's called outreach marketing, you can scale at a low client acquisition cost, because you don't have to run ads, you don't have to post all this content. You can literally reach directly out to your potential customer. Remember to get the interest. Hey, do you want to do a meeting? Then convert that interest into an actual paying client. From there, you can take, because that's such a profitable channel to do outreach marketing, you can actually take both the data and the learnings from being one-on-one with your customer and outreach. You can take that data and learnings, as well as the profit and the revenue you're now making from your outreach marketing, and you can apply that to other channels like ads and Facebook and search and content, because you're getting such a direct connection with your client, with your prospect, and you're able to grow and scale very, very healthy profit margins. Versus sometimes people try to do everything all at once and then nothing really hits, or they try to go do ads as the first thing, so they're spending all this money testing assumptions. If you can start on an organic, direct outreach marketing, you're going to get clients, you're going to get them fast, and you're going to get it at a margin that allows you to make mistakes along the way, because you're going to make those mistakes, and over time refine it so that you can take all those learnings and apply it to every other channel you're going to do marketing in the future.
Step number 3 is to educate your prospect. In this step, we also call this warming up the prospect. Once you've attracted them as a lead, we want to get them bought into your product or service. You can do this by doing things like giving free value through a webinar, testimonials, free PDFs. The biggest thing is get them bought into your brand, the way that you do business, and why they absolutely have to work with you.
There was this interesting thing that TV advertisers back in the 40s or 30s, something like that, I can't remember the exact date, but way back in the day, they discovered that if they ran their ads and a viewer saw it 7 times, it would take 7 interactions or 7 touches before that person would trust and buy. We're living in a much different world than back then. There wasn't that much noise back then. I mean, they thought there was, because before, not too long ago, it was horse and carriages. But nowadays, we are inundated with messages absolutely everywhere on your phone, everywhere you're going. So you got to think about this. How can I make at least 7 touches, if not 10 or 15 touches before, between when I got the lead, when they're interested, and I actually have that sales presentation? Because if I can, through different avenues, create 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 touches with my company, testimonials, stories, value, all these different pieces, I can hyper accelerate my sales process. Whereas a lot of times, if you don't have some kind of warm up, some education piece in place, what's going to happen is you're going to get the lead. It's not going to convert. You're going to follow up. So they're either going to buy from somebody else, or they're not going to buy for 6 months. So this is a way where you condense time and you're able to close and shorten your sales cycle literally just by creating multiple touches. Now, you don't want to do the exact same kind of touch. Like, I'm going to send them 20 emails, like try to do, email and text and maybe retargeting different angles with different ideas and different value. You're going to compress the time that it takes to actually turn a lead into a paying customer.
So some examples of free value that you can give your prospects to warm them up and get them ready to convert. Things like webinars, free videos that are educational, PDFs, case studies and testimonials work great because they get them bought into your brand.
Step number 4 is conversion with sales process. Remember, you need not just predictable leads, you need a predictable conversion process. Because if you're selling one-on-one over Zoom calls or you're selling over your webpage or whatever, if you have traffic but you don't have conversion, then we don't actually have a business. So this is where it ties it all together, is you got to be very obsessed about every piece of traffic that comes through your website, every sales call that your sales team takes. How are you converting those? And then as you start seeing deals that do close, as you start seeing customers that do buy, what was the process that got them to convert? And over time, you want to have this mapped out so perfectly that you can predict growth. You can know, hey, if I have 100 people that hit my website, or if I have 100 people that my sales team has calls with, it's going to turn into 20 clients and so on. So, because once you have that kind of predictability and the systematized conversion rates and processes, you now can predict your growth and revenue month over month over month, year over year. And this is really the big clients, the big companies, they have these things dialed into a science.
As an entrepreneur, your number one priority is sales. So if you don't have a sales team yet, or this is something that you're looking to build, you have to know how to create that conversion system. You have to be the one on the front lines testing it and really dialing in a process that you can then hire a team for. But sales is your number one priority. And step number 5 is to measure your results with data. By far, the most important aspect of a successful customer acquisition strategy is to know your numbers. And of course, there are so many data points that you could track in this strategy. We want to narrow it down to the few numbers that if you know these, you can successfully build out your customer acquisition, know how much money you are making or are going to make, and you can repeat this strategy over and over. So Tim, what are the numbers that we need to know?
Depending on if you're selling stuff like through your website or if you're selling for a sales team, I'm just going to give you some really important numbers. It's number of leads, the number of interested people that either hit your webpage or if you're in a B2B setting where you're selling people over the phone, this could be the number of people that actually booked a call. I'm going to go through more of like a sales team process, and then you can kind of apply this to any channel. So I'm going to have my leads, interested people. Then I'm going to have bookings, like how many people actually turned from a lead to a book call, how many people actually showed up to that call, what was my close rate on that call. You can get granular and like, set a second call, close rate on a second call. I don't go too advanced with that. If you keep the numbers simple, you're actually going to do it. So we think about that, the lead, the book call, how many showed up, how many closed. So that's kind of the sell side. When I want to look on the actual, my money side, I want to go, what did I pay for a lead? What did I pay for a live call? What did I pay for a close? Because ultimately, I'll give an example. I was talking to a guy the other day we're going to do some work for. His company, he's got a pretty successful company, but he has a new product that they launched, and it costs him $4,875 to acquire a client, which is fine if you're selling a $15,000 or $20,000 or $30,000 program. He was selling a $7,000 program, so he's paying about $5,000 to get a $7,000 client, not including any of his costs, any of his sales team commission. And so he didn't realize that his numbers were that off. And so when you really know your numbers, it allows you to have actionable items where, hey, if I were to adjust my show rate just a little bit, that's going to bring my client acquisition cost down to $4,000. If I were to raise my cost to $9,000 and bring my client acquisition cost down to $4,000, now at least I'm at a 2-to-1 ratio on my return on investment. So understanding these numbers, if I confused you a little bit, feel free to go back and listen to this a few times, because knowing your numbers will be critical to your success. So the pipeline numbers, but also the money numbers. What does it cost to get a meeting? And ultimately, what does it cost to get a client in your business? And when you know all the steps in between there, it allows you to make fine-tuned adjustments with those so that over time you decrease your client acquisition cost and you increase your total lifetime value of your customer.
Those are great numbers to track if you are in a sales team setting. Now, if you are selling a product, 3 really easy numbers that you can track are: number 1, total leads. How many people did I attract interested in this product? Number 2 is conversions. How many people did I convert into paying customers? And 3rd is, what was my cost to acquire the customer? And if I know these 3 numbers, I can determine whether my marketing or my customer acquisition was successful or not.
That's the 5 steps for having a successful customer acquisition system in place. And if you have these 5 things, by nature, you're gonna grow. Like, that's just the way it is. So if you're missing any one of these things, I want you to pay attention. Make sure you get all of these pieces plugged in, because a lot of times, you know, if you have a big long chain and you're pulling on it, your chain's only as strong as what? The weakest link. And your client acquisition or your customer acquisition system is only as strong as your weakest link. So I want you to do one thing. What's the one area that you're going to start working on today, this week, to grow and strengthen your customer acquisition system? Write it down in the comments. We're active and we're live in the comments, and we'd love to help you out. If you're not already subscribed, make sure to hit that subscribe button so every time we drop something new, you are notified. As well as if you got value out of this, hit that like. If you didn't get any value at all and you're like, this is the dumbest thing that I've ever seen in my entire life, like, just let us know why, and we can make the videos better. But you know, don't do the down thumb then. Don't do that one. Just the up one. Okay, cool. This is the Takeover with Tim and Cindy. Remember, domination is not a destination, it is a way of life. Stay winning.